ICE could be outside my concert, and it's something that we were talking about and very concerned about. He hasn't been doing shows in the mainland United States,
and it doesn't really matter because you probably were never going to buy tickets in the first place. Well, somebody else is actually going to come and take that spot. The Bad Bunny Super Bowl controversy by Blackie Speaks.
Now, Bad Bunny, one of the most successful artists in the world right now, was recently picked for the Super Bowl halftime show, and it didn't take long for controversy to follow. Last year, rapper Kendrick Lamar hit the same stage, and although his performance was generally praised, there were still people who attacked him for being too socially conscious for that mainstream stage, and Bad Bunny is now walking into a very similar storm. However,
it's pretty crazy how mad some people could be at the Kendrick performance, especially when it was him going back and forth with Drake and him getting picked at all, and how he talks in his music. I'm not surprised certain people will be pretty upset because apparently they're not there to have a statement be shown. They're there to just sit there and watch football, which is insane when you could just not listen, eat, or walk around the stadium while the performance is going on if you genuinely don't like it that bad. That's what makes it all funny.
Criticism for him is a little bit different. For anyone not familiar with the name, Bad Bunny is a 31-year-old Puerto Rican rapper and singer who's been dominating the mainstream
fire music for real.
He's broken countless records, sells out extremely massive concerts, and has established himself as one of the most streamed artists of this generation, among names like Drake and Taylor Swift. So him being picked for the halftime show doesn't come as a surprise to anyone who's been paying attention to his success. But despite all that, the moment his name was announced, a wave of backlash hit online, mainly from conservative voices. Some people said there's nothing American about Bad Bunny. Others pointed to his past stances, which include his criticism of US President Donald Trump, his activism against ICE, and the fact that most of his songs.
This is Bad Bunny. He was just announced as the 2026 Super Bowl halftime show. Massive Trump hater, anti-ICE activist, no songs in English. It's something worth celebrating. If you don't like this, you're probably just a weirdo who hates on immigrants or just thinks you're so American that you can't have someone who doesn't speak English. I could probably tell I'm an anime fan. I don't need a song to be in English for me to like it or for it to be good. Bad Bunny also makes a lot of statements in the songs that I feel like people would probably be upset about. You should be happy for the discourse and the conversation. We're supposed to be in America, a place of free speech, yet he is out here about to use his free speech in his music, and it's gonna literally be an issue. That's what people were complaining about.
In English. Now let's talk about his stance on Donald Trump. Bad Bunny has never been shy about how he feels about Trump. Like a lot of public figures, he's made his stance very clear. Now during last year's presidential race, he openly supported Kamala Harris. This came after a comedian at a Trump rally made offensive comments about Puerto Rico. At the time, both campaigns were fighting hard for the Puerto Rican vote, especially in places like Pennsylvania, where nearly 500,000 Puerto Ricans live. And Benito, better known as Bad Bunny, shared Kamala's campaign clip with his 45 million followers on Instagram. He's also brought politics directly into his music. In his recent music video, Nueva York, there's a segment where you can hear Trump's voice played over speakers. The scene reenacts a reality where Trump is forced to apologize to immigrants, saying, "This country's nothing without the immigrants."
I want to apologize to the immigrants in America. This country is nothing without Mexicans, Dominicans.
Now, Bad Bunny has used moments like this to make his stance crystal clear, and that's where
people being mad about that type of stuff make no sense to me because he's just speaking out for what he believes. If you're going to be upset that he doesn't like Donald Trump and he talks about not liking Donald Trump because he's your president, then you would hate to live in America in general, where we literally allow people to protest 24/7. We have the internet where people talk bad about literally anybody and everybody a lot, and he's just protesting something he does not like, which is literally a right we all have. Obviously, in his music, he's going to do the best to promote people like immigrants, something that is pretty dear and near to his heart, and I don't think somebody should be upset because of that. That's a pretty obvious thing that a lot of people actually do in their music, is that symbolism. It's an everyday thing that no one should really be upset about.
Part of his Super Bowl announcement is rubbing a lot of conservatives the wrong way. Now specifically, Bad Bunny has made his stance very clear on the immigration issue, which is a pressing conversation in America right now, specifically when it comes to ICE. Now most people already know or have a general idea of what's going on in America when it comes to ICE, but for anyone who doesn't know, ICE is the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, basically the government branch in charge of immigration enforcement in America. They've been heavily criticized for the way they carry out mass deportations and raids.
In Chicago today, overseeing more immigration arrests.
He says agents targeted day laborers outside Home Depot, and at least one was hurt as they tried to get away from ICE. Another military helicopter spotted.
Go after the bad guys. Go after the gangbangers. Go after the killers. These guys are just trying to work. ¿Cómo que está ilegalmente? No puede abrir.
And emotional video from Little Village recorded Monday as ICE reportedly arrested a man despite pleas from his wife that he's in the United States legally.
And during Trump's time in office, they've become
That's just
especially controversial
crazy.
for targeting
Beyond crazy.
Latino communities. So the majority of the people impacted by these policies have been Latinos. This also ties into why for his recent tour, he hasn't been doing shows in the mainland United States, meaning the 50 states on a continent. Puerto Rico is U.S. territory, so even though he's been performing in PR, he was skipping the major U.S. cities. Naturally, this made a lot of people wonder why, and in a recent interview, he finally cleared it up, even going as far as to call out concerns about ICE. When asked about why he's not performing in the U.S. right now, this is what Bad Bunny said. Man, honestly, yes, there are many reasons why I didn't show up in the U.S., and none of them were out of hate. I've performed there many times. All of the shows have been successful. All of them have been magnificent. I've enjoyed connecting with Latinos who've been living in the U.S., but specifically for a residency here in Puerto Rico, when we are an unincorporated territory of the U.S. People from the U.S. would come here to see the show. Latinos and Puerto Ricans of the United States could also travel here or to any part of the world, but there was the issue of like, fucking ICE could be outside my concert, and it's something that we were talking about and very concerned about. So that statement alone shows you where his head is at. He's not just making music, but he's also making sure his shows feel safe for his own people. Bad Bunny.
People might take that statement and think that's crazy, but we just saw somebody outside of Home Depot getting taken. It's talking about normal workers. Those are people that literally are doing nothing and are involved in no bad activities. People just trying to work. There is somebody sitting there just chilling out with his wife who got taken. So it would make a lot of sense for people to believe, hey, bro, you show up to a concert where mainly people of that ethnicity are going to be at. Obviously, you just want them to come there and feel safe and not feel like, hey, man, if I step outside here, there's going to be the last time I ever get to be in America. It's a knowledgeable thing that I can't really even disagree with. Like, they are being abducted and taken at places where bad people do not hang out. We have seen ICE raids in places like schools or kindergartens, things like that, where there are just straight children there. Children and parents. Nobody bad is hanging around these places, yet they will sit there and group all these people together and apparently claim that they're all bad people.
And, you know, basically he's saying he doesn't want his own community putting themselves at risk just to attend one of his concerts. But now with the Super Bowl move, things have shifted. A lot of conservatives are coming out saying he doesn't belong on a stage, pointing to his politics and the fact that most of his music isn't in English. And because of that, he's facing a wave of criticism. At the same time, a lot of people in the industry are celebrating the choice. Jay-Z, who helps oversee the halftime show, called Bad Bunny inspiring for everything he's done for Puerto Rico. And then Bruno Mars tweeted out to show support saying, go get him, Bad Bunny. Now here's the thing. Puerto Rico is U.S. territory and Bad Bunny is just as much of an American citizen as the people criticizing him. And if you look at what he's been doing in Puerto Rico, it's clear why so many people there see him as a cultural icon. Over the summer, he did something historic. A 31-day residency, basically a series of concerts all in the same venue that brought out 500,000 people and pumped over 700 million into the local economy. It wasn't just concerts, it was a celebration of Puerto Rican culture, from traditional music to national pride. So this is someone who's literally shifting the economy with his music, and since Puerto Rico is U.S. territory, what he's doing here doesn't just impact the island, it connects back to the United States as a whole. And that's important because when you zoom out, the U.S. itself is struggling with a drop in tourism. Reports estimate the country could lose around $30 billion in international tourism this year alone, with travelers pointing to how expensive it is to visit, the political climate, and even the hassle of U.S. customs as reasons for going elsewhere. One of the areas still driving the economy is discretionary spending, basically the extra money people put toward things like entertainment, concerts, and events. With tourism revenue down, other areas are stepping in. And that's where someone like Bad Bunny comes in, because his shows are pulling in massive dollars and giving people a reason to spend, because a lot of Americans are actually traveling just to see him perform, especially since he isn't doing a traditional U.S. tour. So,
I mean, real, that only makes sense. Places in America are pretty cool, and I'm not surprised more people don't want to come here because of everything that's going on. But tourism overall, I feel like, is down in general. I expect for like certain places, but coming to America and seeing all the hate and everything else that's going on, especially if you live through it through your screens and are being like, hey, this would be a cool place to visit. You pull up something, you talk about all of the bad and negative things that are going on there consistently. It would make sense why people would not want to visit certain places. And someone like Bad Bunny, a crazy icon who's making insane music, music. If you actually haven't tapped into Bad Bunny, you definitely should. Some of his music just be fire. It really is just that good, to the point I understand why a bunch of people are getting up and moving and traveling just to go see him.
Instead of waiting for him to come to their city, people are flying out to Puerto Rico to catch his shows. And because Puerto Rico is U.S. territory, much of that spending from flights and hotels to tickets and food still feeds back into the broader U.S. economy. So when you really look at it from the grand scheme perspective, Bad Bunny isn't just moving tickets. This guy has the power to shift entire economies. He's such an international name, and when you put someone like that on a halftime stage, advertisers see dollar signs. The NFL knows he can pull in a global audience. And at the end of the day, that's what the halftime show is really about, money and reach. And if you connect the dots, that's the part a lot of people are overlooking. His presence doesn't just represent Puerto Rico. It also pulls in global attention and money that ultimately benefits America as well. I think a lot of this backlash comes from people looking at it through a narrow lens of what they believe American should look or sound like. So if you don't fit into a certain box, then suddenly you don't count. That comes from the preconceived notion that being American has to look one way, when in reality it doesn't. It looks all ways. And the Super Bowl halftime show is about one thing more than anything else: advertisers. The NFL wants the biggest, most global names to pull in viewers, and Bad Bunny is one of those names. That's why they put people like him on that stage. They're trying to tap into that global audience rather than just catering to the same American crowd, because they already have that.
That's just what I was thinking, bro. We already tapped, bro. Americans spend so much money already, and with something like the Super Bowl halftime show, it is a good chance to reach out and get other people. I mean, look at Kendrick's show last year. He's pulling in the numbers, not just from the US, but all around the world. Even every show before that, they're not all the same, and they're all different, and they're all icons that are going to get a ton of attention. What people also don't understand is, if you're gonna sit there and not watch the halftime show purely because you don't like Bad Bunny, well, somebody else is actually gonna come and take that spot. If you're talking about sitting here saying, hey, you're not even gonna tune into it on your TV, well, don't worry, because somebody else internationally is gonna sit there and tune in anyway. The people that are Xing themselves out and removing themselves from watching the halftime show, buying tickets, or supporting it in any way, there is going to be somebody to fill your spot who actually is gonna go out there, buy tickets, tune into the halftime show, post about it, and promote it. You're just as replaceable as anybody else. So you're saying no doesn't really mean much when it's one person saying no, and there's going to be two more people coming in just for Bad Bunny. And that's going to be continuously happening all throughout the world.
Audience locked in. Now, another layer to this conversation is Bad Bunny's image as an artist. He's openly spoken about how he views sexuality, and he doesn't really box himself in. In an interview from a few years back, he said, "It doesn't define me. At the end of the day, I don't know if in 20 years I will like a man. One never knows in life, but at the moment, I am heterosexual and I like women." So for a lot of people, putting him on that stage at the biggest American event doesn't just mean a Puerto Rican artist is representing. For them, it also means someone who challenges traditional ideas of masculinity and the identity of
apparently
what it
you can't have that nowadays.
Personally, I do think a big part of this controversy really comes down to his stance on ICE. That's been one of the most divided issues in American politics over the last decade, but especially the last year and last few years, with some people viewing ICE as necessary for border security, while others see it as an agency that unfairly targets immigrant communities. And Bad Bunny has always made it clear which side of that debate he's on. A lot of people feel like these artists should stick to entertainment and stay out of politics, but that ignores the fact that these are people with real backgrounds who represent very big communities. The land population in the United States is over 60 million, making up about 18.9% of the total population. That makes them the largest ethnic minority in the country, and having someone like Bad Bunny on the biggest stage in America means that community is represented too. And the good thing about entertainment, especially music, is that it transcends barriers. If you make enough impact despite where you're from or what language you speak, you're gonna shine a light on your culture and bring it to the biggest stages. That's one of the reasons why a guy like Bad Bunny is so relevant right now. Even if you don't understand a single word he says in his songs, the energy and influence are impossible to ignore. He's proof that you don't have to communicate in English through your music to be a part of the American mainstream conversation. And at the same time, everything has become so politicized that people aren't just judging music anymore. They're looking at it through their own political lens. I don't personally see this backlash as anything that's gonna stop him. I think he's gonna put on a great show regardless. He's a great performer. And honestly, it's great to see the Latin community getting their shine on the biggest stage in America. Their music, culture, food, all of it has had a massive influence on the world in general. And did I mention women? You know, that's one part I can definitely stand behind. What do you guys think about the controversy surrounding Bad Bunny getting picked for the Super Bowl halftime show? But what do you specifically think about the controversy that's followed? Drop a like for the algorithm. Again, it really helps the channel.
What a lot lot of people tend to forget is the one thing you mentioned right there. They want a lot of celebrities, artists, anybody in a niche where it's not specifically talking about politics to hush up about how they feel about it, when that doesn't make any real sense. At the end of the day, even though these are people of a higher status, these are still people out there experiencing life just like you. These political things affect them just like they are going to affect you, maybe on a different level, obviously because of their status, but this is still the same world that we live in, and it makes sense for people like Bad Bunny or anybody of influence who talk about how they feel about these specific things going on. And music, an expression, as he said, that can transcend anything. It doesn't matter if you don't know what he's saying, you can definitely feel the energy in all of his music, just like he said, and using that voice to say how you feel about certain things that are going on, or say how you feel about things that are bad, how certain people are being mistreated, all of that is a good thing to show that people still care and that you're someone that is actively trying to help or push for a positive change in the world. Bad Bunny halftime show is going to be fire, and anybody that doesn't support it is a weirdo, and it doesn't really matter because you probably were never going to buy tickets in the first place. But at the end of the day, that is just how I feel. If you want to tell me how you feel, the best place to do would be the comment section down below, because this video is unfortunately over. But if you did enjoy this video, maybe consider giving it a like. If you enjoyed content like this, then maybe consider subscribing, because I post like this every single week. Never miss out on a single upload. If you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified the millisecond a video goes live. But that's enough for me. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace out.